All right, mic check. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right,
Good to
hey
go.
guys, how's everyone doing? I'm Maha. They go by a man like Mayhoose, and this is.
Jasmin,
All right, how are you doing today, Jasmin?
super good. Dude, I've had a great ass day, not gonna lie.
Why is that?
Super chill. Like I think just like waking up in the morning, honestly, the seeing the sunshine just puts me in the best mood ever.
Yeah, it's very
Like,
true.
yeah.
It's just like an instant like burst of energy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very cool. All right, do you want to explain what we're gonna be doing today? Or do you want me to take over?
Yeah, so I'm really interested to discuss the topic of inner childhood trauma. And I guess like how our inner child can still affect us today.
Very cool. Okay. All right, great. So I asked Jasmin to be on a podcast. She was so kind enough to say yes. So we're gonna just go back and forth and talk about this topic. You want to start?
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Man, where do I begin? I guess like we could explain like how we kind of grew up in the environment and things like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So I guess for me, I grew up in New York City in Queens, born and raised to a super strict Muslim family. And I'll say looking back, I think they were just strict kind of like protect me as a girl in New York
Mhm.
City and kind of used religion as an excuse.
I hear that.
Um, and honestly, man, like my whole life, I've kind of always felt like I never really fit in.
Mhm.
Like there was just like this weird sense of like not belonging, like always feeling trapped and suffocated.
I can relate
Um,
to that.
yeah, and I kind of see like how that's manifested as an adult. Like even I guess like especially being under strict parents, I kind of like a lot of decisions I've made, like I kind of like realized like, wait, like whose permission am I seeking to do this whenever I
Yeah.
get that resistance? So it's just so bro, like
So like you're expecting resistance then.
in a way.
Interesting.
And I guess it's just like childhood, like honestly, it's just programming. The
Absolutely.
subconscious.
Absolutely. And a lot of times like we as humans don't understand that how we program ourselves through survival instincts to deal with and cope with these things, right?
Yep.
So it's like just bare minimum like survival tactics as in like deflections, self-sabotage. And it's just like all these like inner coping mechanisms that are toxic to oneself kind of just they manifest in everyday life afterwards.
But it's like we needed to do all those things to kind of like survive at the time.
It's that's interesting. Let's touch on that because like self-sabotage, all these like self-toxic traits. I'm blanking. If you know any want to add.
And I think that was a good description. I have like once I was actually literally thinking last night. I was up till like it was like 11:30 p.m. and I'm like, dude, why don't you just go to sleep? You know you're tired. But something in me told me to stay up. And I'm like, dude, I think this is like a childhood trauma leftover where it's like as a kid, I never got time to myself. And I used to stay up super late just because I had control of my time finally. My
Mhm.
parents and teachers weren't telling me what to do. It's just so interesting. Like as an adult, like I'm so tired. Naturally, I should want to sleep, but it's like this subconscious programming is just like trying to keep me up.
Interesting. Huh. I definitely understand that. I definitely understand what you mean. A
Mhm.
lot of times, like self-sabotage can look like very obvious things, and then like in other instances, it could be stuff like that, or stuff that manifests into like very like small aspects of life, like the way you view business, romantic relationships based on past things, right? And
Definitely.
that and this is a case where like the toxic trait of self-sabotage isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just seeing past what it's protecting you from
Mhm.
is more important because like once you understand why, because I used to go through these things like personally a lot, like self-sabotage, but it'd be more so because I didn't understand why I was
Mhm.
doing these things. It was more so to protect myself from getting hurt or getting like,
Mhm.
it's like a very like it's a pessimistic point of view, really is, but it's like
Um,
these habits and survival instincts we grew through child trauma to basically it's not like self-sabotage, there's two aspects of it. It's like we either think we're not good enough for what we're receiving, so we kind of just try to destroy everything around us, or it's that we are not used to having nice things and then having them taken away from us, so our inner child is protecting us by wanting to not gain these things so that they're not taken away
mhm.
from us, which is not a bad thing because it is protecting us, but it's understanding that the framework of mind that we see this through is horrible,
Yeah.
right? And it's like the self-sabotage trait itself isn't as bad as what is trying to protect you from. And I
Mhm.
think that's I don't know. That's just like a very interesting aspect because everyone just discusses how self-sabotage is so bad, all these toxic traits are bad, but they don't understand that these were literally survival mechanisms we grew into to protect us at one point.
And actually it probably benefited us at the time, like when we needed
Exactly,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it was a good thing for a period.
Absolutely, I agree. Absolutely.
I think that's why it's hard to break out of, because it's like we kind of got our reward by doing that behavior, by being, by like having those steps of survival. So it's kind of interesting.
Reward. What
Like,
do you mean by reward? I'm kind of having trouble.
well, I guess like let's say like you took on a specific behavior to protect yourself.
Okay.
You were kind of like your reward was like you were protected from a certain situation.
Ah, okay. Okay,
Like
yeah.
for example, like if your parents are arguing and like fighting, or like, and you take drugs to numb yourself out, your
Mhm.
reward is like, all right, now you're kind of removed from that
You don't
situation.
feel anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you don't
numbed
feel anything,
out.
absolutely.
Like you got your goal basically.
It's very interesting you use the term reward because I'm instantly thinking of now Ivan Pavlov and like classic conditioning.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole like back to like the like literally wiring your brain from scratch. That's so interesting.
Like even for
Which,
me, like I really grew up, like I used food for comfort so many times, and I've had
oh
like
hell
eating
yeah.
disorders. Yeah. And even now, like sometimes if I'm stressed out, like dude, I stress out, like even working a 9 to 5, like
Hmm.
I noticed myself, I'm so aware of it. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm basically punishing my body because of something my mind told me.
Yeah, and that's crazy. That's literally like anxiety and stress are. It's like we punish ourselves based on things that might happen or that could happen. And it's
Yep.
like it's so interesting how like the way, like I said, like self-sabotage manifests. So it could be like eating disorders, or things like you eat too much and sabotage your health. It
Yeah.
could be things like staying up late, where you sabotage your sleeping pattern, which I've been doing a lot lately because it's just like staying up is fun. But it's really interesting how like I don't know, Jasmine, what would you think like about like the whole nature versus nurture? What's your opinion on that? About like a child, a human child in specific?
I definitely think it's both. Because I definitely like you definitely sense personalities, especially
Mhm.
like with babies and like toddlers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I think the nurturing part can, like, for example, like I really do feel like we're kind of, we have our own personalities, and like we're solid like in maintaining like if our personality was a vibration, like we hold that vibration. But I think because of our environments and the nurturing aspect, that could either block it or allow us
Yeah,
to
to
expand.
flourish. That's very interesting because it's like, yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. Like the reason my parents and I never got along at the beginning is because I resisted, again, that word resist, so much the person they wanted me to be
Yeah.
and who they needed me to be. And it's like, that's not me. Right.
Yep.
And it's like the more you resist like your parents into being who they want you to be, the more they're gonna try to make you that way. Because like I don't know, it's so interesting. Because the reason I asked about nature versus nurture in specific is that I believe that children are blank slates with like some genetic, like you've heard of epigenetics, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, it's like inbred trauma, well, not inbred, that's a very bad reason, like genetically bred trauma, like
Mhm.
that's like trauma bred through generations, like it's very real. Like, for
Mhm.
example, like there's a lot of stuff happening in the Middle East right now, with the whole Gaza Strip. God bless everyone's soul that's involved. But on Palestine's side and everything, and those people in Palestine, they're going through shock, loss, fear, and it's like all that stuff is going to be bred into the next generation. And
Yep.
it's so sad to think that's like the reality of it, but like that's why I asked nature versus nurture, because I myself think that children, other than the epigenetics of like the personality and vibration, who they are kind of already when they come here, I think they're blank slates essentially. And it's
Yeah.
like it's so it's pretty fucked up if you really think about it, that like as an infant, and I will always say this, even if someone like, okay, if you think about it like this, like child comes into this world at like the age of 0, they know nothing, they don't know how to talk, walk, speak, anything, and you're pushing your belief system onto them with so much force, and it's not even your belief system, it's a watered down belief system of the parents, and then
Yeah.
that belief system they're giving them becomes watered down into their belief system, which is watered down from yours. And it's so messed up because like not even like anything against specifically against religion, but like even if I had a child and like I did this with my belief set to them, it's still, I believe, just as wrong,
Mhm.
because it's not allowing people to explore like the realities of the world, and also like it's so limiting, and it places people in a box before they get to learn who they are. So it's like
Yep.
as soon as this blank slate of a child is born, every time they try to box and cookie cutter them into like a specific person or form. And over time, that really causes issues, like a lot
Yeah.
of issues.
It's even crazier that like if you're and like if that same child is exposed to opposing views, they're taught to like see that side as bad or like stay away from that and come back into like these.
Right? That's like literally, okay, that's, I agree. I also think that that's like partly propaganda, like heavy
Mhm.
propaganda, because like I faced it growing up as like an immigrant kid in Canada. My parents said the most outlandish racist things, like things that like I as a 4-year-old knew could never be true. It's like, why would you say that? And it's just funny, but no,
Yeah.
over time, like they came here very, I don't want to use the word radical, but they came here very radical, like, and like they're from Pakistan, they're like very focused on like just surviving. And I think that's one of the worst things, like mentality is, I'll say this because like I've experienced like a, you know, part of my story, you know, I've been through it. It's like the mentality you teach your kids is very important. And like I say this because when I came here as a kid, I was 1 year old, and like my parents only knew about surviving. I can't blame them, but I learned how to survive with the bare minimum. And over time, that led me to make decisions that were against what they wanted, but I couldn't go to them for money and things like that. So it's like I had to, you know, kind of feed myself. And it's so interesting to see that the mentality they taught me, if I'd actually like took it on and like live with it, I would be fucking nowhere. Like
Yeah.
I would literally be a law-abiding citizen that
Yeah,
did nothing with his time, to be honest.
seriously. Or was too scared or just like
To take a risk ever, exactly. To ever take a risk. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting, like the person that your parents are and the person that they want you to be is essentially one of two things. It's either like who they already are and they're benefiting from, which is understandable, or someone that they never could be.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like it's so fucked up to think like you don't have the capability or capacity to be this person, yet you're expecting your child to do that. I don't know, I've been rambling for a bit, but like,
Dude, isn't it crazy? Yo, some parents are actually jealous of their kids.
yo, I've
Isn't
actually,
that wild? What? That's insane for me to think about.
yeah.
Honestly, that was like a big part of my journey and
Mhm.
healing was learning how to forgive my parents. Just
How did you do that if you don't
understand
mind me asking?
that, like,
How did you forgive your parents if you don't mind me asking? Like
yeah.
mentally, you don't have to share all that, but like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
struggling with that. I'm struggling with that.
yeah. Honestly, I think it's I think we had a conversation about that like before, like soul contracts. I think it was just like
Oh yeah, last time we spoke. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just like seeing the big picture, like that everyone's kind of like playing their roles. And it was easy for me to forgive them because I know I'm pure love. I love them unconditionally. One of the hardest truths was like coming to terms like, all right, they might not love me as much as I love them, like love in the purest sense. Because sometimes, like,
Absolutely, because that's so interesting because we, especially as like immigrant offspring and children, are taught very fucked up and distorted versions of love,
yes,
conditional placements, and it's like you do this and I'll love you like this, and it's like it's very messed up. But sorry, go on.
and even like religion too. I think that's why I never resonated with religion because, like,
Yes.
so I grew
Wow,
up,
that's such a beautiful phrase. I do not resonate with religion. I'm gonna start
yeah,
using that because
every,
I when I start talking about religion, just other stuff comes out. But
yeah. Like, you grew up in a Muslim family too?
yeah, yeah, very, very like very heavy. Like at the age of 8, I finished the Quran a couple of times, and like by the age of 11, I was supposed to hafiz it. And then I
Wow.
started reading the translation. I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. And over time, it's like, I don't know, like religion at first, like I was all like, oh, I'm atheist, like there is no God. And it was very like it was
Same.
ignorant because like it imposed that I knew, right? And then I learned about like as not agnosticism, and over time I kind of just began like even last time we spoke, we talked about how like we are gods, we manifest our own realities through our thoughts.
Mhm.
I definitely agree. And it's like even between now and then, my mentality has kind of shifted in the sense that am I God or am I connected to source
Mhm.
and reaching my divine self, which is a very different thing than from being a God.
Yeah.
So it's like even then there was ego rooted in my belief system, which is which led me to move in arrogance, right? Like it's very like your belief system, like I said, your mentality really defines who you are and like what how you maneuver life.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy that like religion is indoctrination. That's my belief. Religion is indoctrination. if you teach, even if I were to have a child and teach them my belief system from the get-go, that's indoctrination of belief.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like when I really realized that, it came to a point of like releasing a lot of like limiting beliefs and like releasing a lot of like self-limiting beliefs and beliefs I had about religion, people, the world that I was given, right? And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that before I kind of like go any further.
Dude, and like I kind of realized early on that like our brains literally run, it's kind of like a tape recorder. Like whatever you've downloaded is gonna start playing
Over and over.
over and over. Yeah. Like unless you feed your brain new information and new beliefs, like you're just gonna keep believing the same things. Not
Which is
gonna
so
lie, like when I was breaking out of like the last kind of like rock bottom I had, like coming out of a long-term relationship, it was 8 years. So it's like I completely lost myself in that relationship. And dude, I remember I was like, you know what? I don't want to be stuck with my shitty thoughts. I would literally just play Kanye West interviews off YouTube and like listen to that all day. Because
wow.
I knew I just needed,
Subconsciously feeding yourself good things.
yeah.
It's cool. Why Kanye?
Honestly, at that time, like I still think like honestly, he is so
Yeah.
revolutionary. I am so grateful that he exists. I'm so grateful he has the courage to speak up on
Seriously.
so many different issues. And like he's just
He's
I'm
cool.
like, you know, like his soul, you could tell his soul was free to create and he really
Yeah, I like that. Free to
yeah.
create.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's very cool. And it's interesting that you said that if you could, we want to go back to like what you just said about like your last relationship, how you lost yourself in it. That's another child trauma issue manifesting codependency. And then
Yep.
that's a huge one. That's a huge one because forget like the whole romantic side of it. Codependency is strongest in like platonic relationships. And it's always the codependent relationships that are dragging you down, that are toxic, stuff like the frenemies. Like they're toxic. They really don't have like your best intentions. They're always competing with you secretly. And like that's why like at my stage of life that I'm in now, I have like I change my number like literally every 2 months, like 2 3 months. And like at this point, it's like I didn't really give anyone my new number because like I never like when I learned the true definition of a friend after like the relationships I've been making with people like currently, I'm like, wow, none of these people are my friends. They just needed things from me. They just wanted things from me. It's so interesting because once I cut those people off, it really made space for the right relationships and people to come in where it's like, okay, well, this is what a real friendship is like.
Yeah.
And codependency is so interesting in so many ways because we're taught that, especially growing up and like my parents never really had like too many, like everyone has marriage problems, but like they never had anything crazy where they wanted to divorce or anything, and they always worked it out. There's a lot of like stigma, especially in like the South Asian and even like Muslim Arabic community where it's like if you split up, that's a failed marriage. Your children are like going to be looked at as bastardized kids, and it's like it's so messed up because staying together causes more damage to everyone involved. And it's like they're reinforcing this codependency over and over and over every time shit hits the fan.
Yep.
And it's okay to quit like on people. It absolutely is. Like people say, don't, if you love someone, it's like, no, fuck that. Do you love yourself enough
Yes.
to quit on this person and say, fuck this?
Seriously.
And it's so interesting because any part of you that wants to hold on to something you know isn't for your best good and interest is you not even sabotaging yourself, but you abandoning yourself. And
Yeah.
it's very like it goes deep. It goes very
Yeah.
deep.
Mm-hmm. This is just say like so. Do you feel like you grew up codependent?
Yeah, absolutely. Very
Mm-hmm.
codependent. Yeah, because like definitely like not even like it was more so that my parents' relationship didn't resemble my understanding of love as a kid.
Yeah.
So I looked for relationships that did not resemble that. And in that, I learned the codependency in different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it was just like puppy dog love, right? It's like the first time you fall in love with someone, like it's very like, oh, you complete me. It's like very cliche. It's like, it's like the grade 9 and stuff. And it's like over time you kind of look at it and like I go back to my first like serious relationship over and over because I notice like behaviors and mannerisms that I currently have now that stem from that. And
Mm.
it's like it's interesting to see why they did or why I still hold on to them or how they even serve me. But it's like not many of them do. So you have to constantly, it's like a snake. Snakes constantly shed their skin, and like the Kundalini energy is very similar. It sheds its skin and renews. I feel like you have to shed your understanding of self over and over again because if you think you know yourself, then you're already limiting yourself to just that. Make sense?
Yeah, hell yeah. Like that's when the ego just like you think like you released your ego, it's like it just pops back in.
No,
Like
because to kill the ego is the ego speaking,
yep,
right? Because we need ego. We need ego.
yep.
And not like in life in general, but like in our current, like, what did you say, your physical avatar? That's the term you use?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
or like meat suit, like yeah, whatever you want to call
Me
it.
too. That's a little physical avatar. We'll go with that. Okay, so your physical avatar is meant to have an ego, right? That is its sense of self. That's how it maneuvers life. That's how it knows what the hell it likes and dislikes. Spicy food, sweet foods. And it's like
Mhm.
you cannot kill that which is your biggest like defense mechanism, like your survival
Yeah.
instinct, right? You can't kill that because that's meant to protect you. And I think when people get the term ego death misconstrued is when they think that killing the ego is going to give them like all the knowledge, but like we are all the knowledge. We already have it within us. And the ego is kind of what I think is my personal belief that encapsulates us into this meat suit, quote unquote. So it's like if we lose that, we kind of like, for example, we talked, are you comfortable talking about like psychedelics and stuff?
Oh hell yeah.
Like, okay, cool. So like we talked about shrooms and stuff and like ego death. And ego death that you have on shrooms, you don't really, you feel like your physical form deteriorating and dying, but you feel connected to source, everything around you. And that's because, how do I explain this? Like your body is no longer limiting you to experience
Mm.
everything. And that's why like, I remember like the last time I did shrooms, like a macro dose, like it was a buddy of mine he actually has a podcast too. He was celebrating his podcast and we went to the beach and I just had mushrooms on me and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna eat some. And I ate some. Sorry?
I know you're good.
Okay.
I
And
my
then I
cat
ate
was
some and
coming in
then,
through the door.
oh, okay. No, and then I ate some and the whole day I was just tripping because I could literally feel everyone's energy. And it's overwhelming. And that's why like ego is important because like we are all one, but if we all knew that, it would either cause collective destruction or collective peace.
Mm.
You know, because again, like I don't know, it goes very deep.
Yeah. And honestly, that was kind of like conflicting for me too. Like every time I'm like on acid or shrooms, I'm like, I love this feeling of oneness. I feel like I do understand it, especially like on DMT, like just
Oh, you
literally.
done DMT?
Yeah.
How is it?
That was, dude, I had the best experience. Like low key, it's hectic. For anyone that wants to try it, it's so insane. Like imagine going through an acid or shroom trip, the come up, the peak, and the come down all in the span of like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes less.
That
Like
is,
it was hectic.
did you break through?
I did. I was, it was that was kind of like the scary part. Like I kind of like had to brace myself. And honestly, like I couldn't even like let go. Like I was scared to move, not gonna lie.
No
But it was
way.
so cool. Like during the breakthrough, I really felt like I was going like through this tunnel. And then I just I was just in a different place. It kind of felt like a video game. Like everything like was rainbow colored and I didn't have a physical body. I literally was a
Did you see
part.
Machine Elves?
Hmm?
Did you see Machine Elves?
Machinos, what's that?
Machine Elves. Machine Elves.
I did, you know what? I did see, I called them the rainbow family.
The rainbow.
I
Interesting.
it was just like I
Beings.
literally
Rainbow
saw
beings.
the energy radiating through the environment and people. And it was just like these friendly faces.
Hmm.
I wonder if it was machine elves.
Yeah, might have been.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then on the come down, like I literally saw, like I could literally see all the veins in my hands. I didn't know where the floor and the wall started and ended. Like everything was connected. And then I slowly saw 3D reality morph back into itself. Like
Whoa.
got to see our physical reality be like reconstructed back.
Damn.
It was insane. And honestly, the next day, I think because I did it with a friend. I'm like, I was having fun that day, and I don't until the next morning when I woke up, I like a half hour into waking up, I'm like, bro, none of this is real. Like it
Damn.
hit me. I was like, I really felt like I was a video game character, and I finally understood. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm in a video game. Like,
Yeah, no, we are definitely in a simulation. The craziest thing is like last time I had like a serious like I stopped like doing like macro doses of like mushrooms and acid last summer because I kind of just I realized too much. You know, when you
Yes.
realize too much, like, no, take it back, take it back, take it back. So
Yeah.
I promise you, this is real. Last time I did acid, I was at my condo when I was living there, like last summer, and I was on my balcony. This was literally like 9 p.m. I'm coming down after like a 14-hour trip. I'm coming down, and all I see is fucking like a grid in the sky, like a literal like grid that like the stars are placed on. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a simulation. And like ever since then, like there are nights when I'm like smoking weed, taking a walk, looking at the beautiful moon. I'm like, oh shit, this is a grid. And like it just jolts back that whole like memory process and train of thought that like none of this is real. And like
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think I guess this is me trying to spin it in a good way, but that's the beauty of nothing being real. You choose what's real.
Exactly. Honestly,
Right?
that's what made me make peace with it. I'm like, all right, if this is like kind of all a game and a stage,
Yeah.
like why not have fun with it? Screw it.
Right? Like why not if it's a
Right?
movie and have fun?
I remember cracking up about that on shrooms. I was like, dude, like none of this shit matters, but it all matters.
Wow, that's very true. None of this matters,
It's
but it
like,
all matters. And yeah, none of this matters until it all matters.
mhm.
Wow. That's very true.
But I
But
feel
yeah,
like
so sorry.
I do feel like psychedelics, like it really does kind of help you take that.
Rewire your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
like, what are your thought processes, you know?
Yeah, because it's like we really have like very self-sabotaging thought processes. We have very like self-destructive tendencies you don't even realize until you look at them objectively.
Yeah.
And like for me personally, like the reason like I didn't personally try DMT yet is because I wanted to do like a more ritual setting where like I find a shaman and do it with them. But like I found one person and like she was very like stern about how to do it. And like the way she described like the fast before, it was very like intense. So that like this was like a year and a half ago. And she said, no weed, no liquor, no sex, no masturbation, no spices, no this, that, like a list of 18 things. And I was like, oh, well, fuck, that's a lot of shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's when I kind of started like looking at like what I put into my body. That's when I
Mm.
kind of started going vegetarian a bit. And like, and then I just never kind of got around to being like, yeah, when I do DMT and breakthrough,
Mhm.
I just been on this like carousel, I call it. I just like work momentum. It's just like, yeah, it's going. Then I hop out for a day and go back on, and it's just crazy.
I think when it happens, it's gonna be divine timing.
Yeah, I feel like that too. If it's meant to happen ever, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's insane? I did it with my friend. He actually makes his own DMT and like he
So
makes vaporizers and stuff.
from like Mimosa hostilis or
From a,
ayahuasca bark?
it's from a bark of a tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
It's
You
so
know
it was
what's
so cool to see the process. Like he
yeah,
literally extracted it. We went outside to smoke, came back in, it was dried and good to go.
yeah. Shit. That's so cool. It's crazy because if you look, you know about like ayahuasca, the drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mimosa hostilis is a type of root bark, and then ayahuasca root bark, they're found in the Amazonian jungle. And this is just like the most beautiful thing I've heard because it's like the people of the jungle said that the tree spirit guided them to these roots to mix because they're only found on the opposite ends of like a 100-mile long jungle, opposite complete ends. And it's like this tree spirit told them to go get them and mix them. And then ayahuasca, the drink, the ceremonial drink came to be. So it's like we would never in a million years know how to combine these two things. Right. So it's like either internally we are knowledge and source that knows what to do all the time, or like there are actual like spirits speaking to us.
Yeah. I
So
personally do believe like we all have like our own guides,
Mhm.
like a team of spirits just like basically helping us out.
I remember you said you kind of like met them last time we spoke.
I
Yeah, like how
did.
was that? Because like that sounds intense.
And honestly, because I do know a few friends who do have like I think it's like I forgot what the term was, like clear audio, like if you can like hear them sometimes, or like some people can actually see them or just like feel them, and really communicate with them. Like, and for people, my friends that can hear them, like it's clearly a different voice. And so for the longest time, like I've set the intention, I was like, dude, like I want to hear you guys, like please
Yeah.
communicate with me, you know? And after I did DMT, I did 7 grams of shrooms. I was just expecting, honestly, a great trip. Like, you know, I ran a bubble bath. I was listening to music. I was
You
smoking.
said what? A great trip?
Yeah.
Oh no. That's how happy the 7 grams, but
I actually did.
wow.
Honestly, I do believe psychedelics, especially, you're just radiating the
Your true
vibration.
nature, your true
Yeah,
nature,
yeah.
which is love. Our true, like our
Mhm.
true vibration is love. We talked about this last time too. We unlearn love,
Yeah.
right? Remember, we unlearn love by seeing life through like the lens of color, race, sex, religion. It's like these things misconstrue our perception of reality.
Yep.
Because love knows no like color or race. Like it's love is love is love.
Mhm. That's what when I'm with psychedelics, like I just want to hug everyone, you know? Like I'm just like why can't we just all like be one and stuff? Like
Yeah.
such a hippie, honestly. Yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
But when I broke through, so on the and that was my first time taking 7 grams of shrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like at that point, I had taken like 2 tabs of acid. I was perfectly fine on it. And like I guess like I knew 7 grams was kind of a lot for shrooms, but I guess like because I experienced DMT, I was like, I'm probably ready for this. Like
Yeah.
nothing's gonna compare to DMT at this point. Uh,
You're wrong.
and like so I'm sitting in the bathtub and I'm like, something in me just told me, I was like, can you please just concentrate and focus with no distractions? And I was like, all right. And like, it was my voice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I just had this feeling. So I turned off the music and I closed my eyes and I kept having that same kind of like breakthrough pattern I noticed on DMT where I kind of felt like I was going through a tunnel. And so, but then I kept stopping myself. And I was like, bro, why are you resisting this connection?
Yeah.
And I was like, because I wasn't like afraid, but it's just like, and then I kept telling myself, I was like, can you please just focus, no
Yeah.
distractions. And so I'm start meditating and I just see like these bright lights, like because in my visuals, because I had my eyes closed, the feeling, I started bawling my eyes out. I never felt so homesick. I knew I
Oh,
met my spiritual family in a way.
yeah.
Like it was
That's
just this
beautiful.
feeling like I'm home.
Yeah.
And it kept saying like you would have anyone who would have like walked in would have thought like I was going nuts.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm just
that's
bawling my eyes out, saying like, it's so good to see you guys. Like,
no. It's that's actually really beautiful. But no, people. That's what like today's society we're indoctrinated to believe that anything outside of the spectrum we're taught is insanity, right?
yep.
So
Now
nah.
I'm wondering if like even things like schizophrenia, like what if it's just
See, it's
people
so
like
interesting you say that because there are so many mental disorders that are it's so insane that are written off as mental disorders because they actually cannot understand them or that they don't want us to believe the truth behind them inside,
yep, or heal them in the proper way.
right?
Like I love Ralph Smart. He's kind of like a spiritual teacher on YouTube. He just I love how he mentions so depression, it's just like deep rest.
Deep rest, okay?
And it's like that's kind of it. It's like because like when you're depressed, like you're just like you're tired.
Yeah.
You're tired. It's like you just need that rest just to recover and heal. It just sucks. Like people are just placed on antidepressants and like that's it. And a therapist that just like kind of like I know I feel like most therapists too. Like I had a therapist and it was awesome, but I kind of felt like it's hard to get to the root of some issues.
Well, therapy in and of itself is a very surface level practice, right? It's a very like, how do you feel? Why does that make you feel? It's all your conscious mind and how it takes in the world, in how rather its intake on the world around it, right? But in actuality, like your traumas, your deep rooted psychological disorders and issues are in the underlying subconscious. And that's not to say that the therapist can't touch on that. It's just like you don't even know it's there. So you can't
Mhm.
tell the therapist something you don't know exists. And it's only really through shadow work. You're obviously familiar with shadow work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not
Too
fun.
familiar. Yeah.
So it's obviously through shadow work that we almost actualize that fuck, I'm pretty messed up because of how I was raised and how I reacted to things around me. And it's not okay anymore because I'm a grown adult. And it's like over time, these things kind of accumulate. And shadow work then just literally becomes like, it's like you're having a normal conversation with someone and it's like, whoa, at one time I was 4 is the reason I do this every day. It's like
Yeah.
the craziest like realizations. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's so crazy. Oh my goodness.
And I remember when I was starting to be like really mindful of my thoughts, I remember, I forgot what
Yeah.
the scenario was, but like I had a thought and I was like, wait, I don't think that. I don't believe that. And I realized like I literally just adopted one of my parents' thoughts. It was just so crazy to witness it just like coming out. I was like, dude, I don't believe that. Wait,
Yeah,
why?
it's like that's not even my thought.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Oh my goodness.
I was like, we
Shit
can't
is
blame ourselves because like again, like that's how we survived. Like we did no one knew better.
yeah, see, but that's just the thing. Like you can't blame your parents for how they conditioned you, but it's on us 100% to recondition ourselves.
Yep.
And it sucks, but like it's just a reality of it. If we want to thrive rather than just survive.
Mm-hmm. And even now, I'm kind of like, even with my parents, I honestly, I think our relationship has improved just because I am aware of all of this now. And like, I understand, like, I can have my own complete different beliefs, ideas. I'm going to live life how I want to. And I don't need their approval or validation anymore.
That's
It's
very
like, no matter how they react, okay, what are you going to do about it? Like,
true.
like
Oh,
that's kind of
snucks.
like the mentality I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, that's so true. For me
And
personally,
also,
sorry, no, go on.
and also just like while doing that, kind of not like keeping the possibility open that they'll be more open or we can have a more loving relationship, which is hard to think about. Honestly, like I'm thinking specifically with my dad, like I
Yeah,
can't imagine it, but I also don't want to write it off because anything
yeah.
can happen.
No, absolutely. It's so crazy because I'm so quick to jump to conclusions about like my parents being more open and understanding of life, but like I do think back to how they were and how where they're at now, and it's like they have improved. Like have to give them credit, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they're not as just like as radical and crazy as before, but yeah, it's more of like how it's like the walks of life too. So it's like back home, there's only a couple of like kinds of occupations and things people of respected profession do. And then like out here, it's just like literally out here, everyone's just doing something different. And it's like being exposed to so many different walks of life and so many like, I want to say like different energies
Hmm.
kind of made them one appreciate mine because I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
And it also made them kind of understand that their like belief system is not outdated but misplaced rather, you know, because that's
Mhm.
my opinion. It's archaic and outdated and useless, but hey, that's on me. But for them it's more so misplaced because they know that the like the mentality that they survived and used back home they can't use here.
Yeah. And I don't like, yeah, I feel the same with my parents and I don't blame them. It's like, that's how they grew up too. Like they're just doing what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just like fear too. That's just like stopping them from
Yeah.
opening. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? Fear?
Um,
Opening up.
I think just like fear of just like, for example, like taking risks
Hmm.
or just like being open and like not having that victim mentality or just like especially like with my parents, some like I growing up, I'm like, don't trust anyone, like people don't have their best your best interest at heart. Like, you know, like even with like my non-Muslim friends, you know, like little things like that, they would tell
Oh
me,
my god, don't even start with
yeah, seriously, yeah.
I know it's so much about like segregating people and like just I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, I learned a new word, gafir.
Scoffer, what is that?
Gafir. That literally means non-Muslim. It's like, oh my goodness, you were
Oh yeah.
so fucking racist,
Oh my
mom.
God.
Can't
Yes.
say that out here.
Yes. Yes.
Damn.
We woke up to all of this for a reason. And
Woke
we're
up. I
out
like
of it.
that you said woke up because it's like this whole woke thing is like you awaken rather than just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm woke, I'm cool.
No, yeah, yeah. It's just like awareness of all of this, you know?
Yeah, it's very true. Hmm.
Yeah, I watched The Matrix for the first time as an adult recently, and like it made perfect sense. Like
You know
when you
what's
watch it from
crazy?
an
Sorry, go on.
like from an energetic point of view, like
Yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
makes perfect sense.
You know what's actually crazy? Like personally speaking, I've never watched The Matrix, The Godfather, like any big cinematic movies ever. It's
Oh my God.
at first I was too young, and then over time, like now I literally don't like watching TV or movies. Like I
Mm.
hate it. Like
Really?
I can't sit still in front of the screen long enough
Mm.
to like be like, okay, I'm enjoying myself. Like literally 5, 10 minutes in, I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is a waste of my time.
Yeah, really.
I'd rather read a book, and I just read a book. But, like,
That's a
it's a
great habit.
very sorry.
That's a great habit.
It is, but like lately, because like I told you, I just recently moved up to my own place, and it's like lately, it's really like it's a power struggle within myself because it's like I need to learn. Like I learned being able to do nothing is a skill. It's a very, very, very important skill because I literally forgot how to do nothing. Like I woke up a few days ago, I had nothing to do, and I'm just like, bro, what the fuck do I do all day? I have nothing to do. And like usually I would have read a book, worked out, like did something productive, but it's like I need to learn to sit still, enjoy myself.
Mm,
But it's like this whole like again wiring your brain and conditioning to believe that work is honestly a capitalist mentality that like the success of your work relates like the happiness of your life, and
mhm.
taking time off is a bad thing when
Yeah.
it's not. But
Or like you won't advance in your career if you take breaks and like
not even that, it's just more like work 24/7, be your best self. And it's like that's great for a machine that's running on
yeah.
efficiency, but we're humans, we need to recharge, rest, unplug, and like be mindful of our emotions, how things make us feel, and like work on like emotional regulation, mental well-being, all these like other things that a machine doesn't have to care about.
Yep. And even taking the time to like do what we actually want to do. Because I don't think a lot of people who work are actually doing what they're passionate about.
Oh, absolutely not. I think we spoke about this last time because it was a betrayal of self when they go against what they really desire, like not pursuing their dreams.
Yeah. It's just so crazy. Yeah. And again, it's probably childhood conditioning too. Like, hey, like my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, and this is the path I'm supposed to take.
Awesome. And it's
But
so crazy because unless you actually like medicine and law, it doesn't benefit anyone, but it doesn't even really benefit them because, you know, if your parents are doing their own thing, they're good, they don't need your money, then it's just for status. And it's so sickening to think. It's so sickening to think. It really is. Because my parents were the same way.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
It's
just
so funny
all
because, sorry?
I just like all I don't like the money focus, honestly, sometimes of it. But I do appreciate like as a human, I know like unfortunately we kind of do need money.
Yeah. Well, it's
Not
only
as
because
much.
other humans made us so, right? We could all
Yep,
just grow our own food and be happy together.
exactly.
But
So it is possible to live off the grid, but
or most definitely is.
mhm.
Definitely is. Off the grid. I know a couple of things about living off the grid, and it's not that difficult. All you really need is a large cash flow. Yeah, because one, you can't track, or now even crypto. I know people that literally like I know now as of this day, I know 5 crypto millionaires that like very personal. I've known them for a while, and out of nowhere, they just have multi-millions in crypto,
That's
and
awesome.
they're living off the grid now. And the way they do this is either pay everything in crypto and cash, or just pay everything cash, because can't track that.
Yep.
Can't track that. But I think this is a good time to stop recording as I don't think I can upload any longer. But this has been a great podcast. Thank you so much, Jasmin, for coming on. I'm going to attach your
Thank you.
social media to the bio below, and you guys can check that out.
Thanks, everyone.